Hello, and welcome to the final video in our video series about functions and groupings in Sigma. So far, we've covered how to create groupings and use aggregate and window functions to perform powerful calculations with our data. But what about all the other functions we haven't mentioned yet? The good news is that, with one notable exception, join functions, which are powerful functions that go way beyond the scope of this video, all other categories of functions, including mathematical and logical operators, work with groupings in roughly the same manner as we have shown so far. With almost all Sigma functions, you can specify another column in the same grouping level, or any higher grouping levels, as the column you are writing your formula in. For example, let's say we'd like to compare our cumulative revenue across each month to our yearly revenue so we can see how much each month's revenue makes up of our total yearly revenue as a percentage. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to quickly compare these values with some of these extra digits hanging around, so I think I'd like to round them first. To do that, we can create a new column and create a formula that rounds the cumulative revenue column using the round function. And then we can create a new column and apply round to yearly revenue. And finally, to get our cumulative progress, we can just divide one by the other. Sigma also provides several more complex functions that can perform multi-step calculations for us with only one function, such as the %of_total function. We can use this function in a column to see what percentage each row in the lower level grouping makes up of the parent group. When used on a table, the %of_total function defaults to the parent grouping mode, which means it will always calculate the %of_total for the next highest grouping level. If we add columns with the same formula to higher grouping levels, we can see how this changes how the data is aggregated. Another kind of powerful function that works with groupings in a similar manner are the hybrid logical aggregate functions, such as SumIf and CountIf, which evaluate logical conditions and aggregate the values that meet those conditions. Sort of like a window function, these functions operate only on certain rows in a column and are bounded by their grouping level, but the way we choose the rows depends on the results of a logical statement instead of a relative location or a user-specified number. Let's try out an example and use SumIf to compare the total revenue to the revenue that comes from the Western US. We can create a formula that sums only the rows in the revenue column that come from a region that has the word West in it, like Midwest or Southwest. But wait, these numbers don't look quite right. It looks like it's only getting numbers from the West region. Let's check the helper text in the formula bar to see what's going on, and then maybe we'll check the function index to get a little bit more detail. The function index lets us know that the contains function expects an exact match which includes uppercase, which means we want to convert all of the row values to lowercase. We can use a function nested within the contains function to make the data match. Use the lower function with the store region column to make the store region values lowercase, and then make sure to change West in the formula bar to lowercase. Now we can add this same formula to columns at different grouping levels and see how much our Western stores are contributing to our total sales at different levels. The SumIf function is great for simple logical calculations such as this one, but more complicated logic requires the use of explicit logical functions such as if. These logical functions are very powerful, but unfortunately go far beyond the scope of this series. This now concludes our video series on functions and groupings in Sigma. We have covered the basics of creating groupings, using those groupings to perform calculations with the help of aggregate functions and window functions, as well as how we can make use of all of these concepts together to leverage all of Sigma's tools more easily. Remember, even Sigma's charts and pivot tables make use of these features under the hood. For more assistance or to learn more, as always, you can visit help.sigmacomputing.com to view our documentation, guides, and tutorials. Until next time, take care and happy calculating.